This conference will now be recorded.
Yes. Let's start today's session. In the last session, we were discussed indexes in SQL Server. Now today I'm going to discuss about stored procedures. Stored procedures in SQL. Stored procedure in SQL. Stored procedure. What is stored procedure and why we use stored procedure? We'll discuss. So first point is stored procedure is a database object. Stored procedure is a database object which contain which contain which contain which contain which contain pre-compiled queries. Precompiled queries. Precompiled queries. What is precompiled queries? Precompiled queries means already compilation queries. Already compilation queries. Stored procedure is a database object which contain precompiled queries. In stored procedure, once the query compiled successfully, once the query compiled successfully, successfully, again and again, again and again, again and again, we need not to, we need not to compile, we need not to compile, we need not to compile. Directly we can use, directly, 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 we can call for execution. Directly we can call for execution. So in stored procedure, once the query compiled successfully, again and again we need not to compile. Directly we can call for execution. But why we use stored procedures actually? Stored procedures are replacement replacement of direct commands, direct queries, direct queries. Stored procedures are replacement of direct queries which are passed, which are passed, which are passed from front end, which are passed from front end. So front end means what here? Web page or web page, any website through. Whenever we send request from front end, see, let me discuss clearly. When we send request, when we use direct commands, when we use direct commands are queries from front end to back end, front end to back end, front end to backend, front end to backend. When we use direct command or queries from front end to backend, front end to backend, at backend, at backend, at backend, query need to be compiled. Query need to compile. Query need to be compiled every time, every time, every time, and execute. Query need to be compiled every time and execute. Every time execute. If the query compiled fail, if the query compiled fail, if the query not compiled successfully, if the query not compiled successfully, then what happened? What happened? The query as it is, the query as it is sends to front end, as it is sends to front end, as it is sends to front end, front end, front end. Again, again, as a programmer, as a programmer, as a programmer, we need to, we need to, we need to rectify, rectify that the query, that query, that query, we need to rectify that query and sends to backend, and sends to backend, backend. Okay, so backend. So when we use direct commands or queries from front end to backend, from front end to backend, at backend, query need to be compiled every time and execute. If the query not compiled successfully, the query as it is sends to front end. Again, as a programmer, we need to rectify that query and send back to sends to backend. So in this process, what happens every time? How many times you are sending request to request? How many times? How many times? How many times we are sending queries? How many times we are sending queries from front end to back end? Front end to back end. Front end to back end. How many times we are sending queries from front end to back end? Front end to back end every time every time every time query need to be compiled and execute. Query need to be compiled and execute. Query need to be compiled and execute. Okay, so this will make very big burden onto the programmer. Actually, this will make this will make this will make burden onto the programmer, burden onto the server, burden onto the server, because every time need to be compile and execute. It will make burden onto the server. It will make burden onto the server. So to avoid this, what we use stored procedure. Actually, stored procedure is a database object which contain pre-compiled queries. That means query need not to compile every time, already compiled successfully, and it's stored in stored procedure. In stored procedures, once the query compiled successfully, again and again we need not to compile. Directly we can call for execution. Stored procedures are replacement of direct queries which are passed from front end. We use direct when we use direct commands or queries from front end to back end. At the back end, query need to be compiled every time and execute. If the query not compiled successfully, the query as is sends to front end. Again, as a programmer, we need to rectify that query and sends to backend. So how many times you are sending queries from frontend to backend? Every time query need to be compiled and execute. This will make burden onto the server. Okay. So here, like this, so many drawbacks are there. Direct queries, drawbacks of direct queries. For example, what are the drawbacks? When we pass the direct commands, drawbacks of direct queries, drawbacks of direct queries. So unnecessary compilations will take place on server. Unnecessary compilations, compilations, unnecessary compilations will takes place will takes place on server. Unnecessary compilation will takes place on server. Server burden is more. Server burden is more. Server burden is more. And next, queries will not provide security. Queries will not provide provide security, because in the front end everybody can modify and delete the commands whatever we have written. It's the queries visible to everyone. Queries available to everyone. Queries will not provide security. Next, queries will not provide reusability. Queries will not provide queries will not provide reusability. That means once we write the command, that command as it is we can't reuse in other application. So reusability of queries also not possible. Queries. And there may be chance there may be chance there may be chance to get SQL server SQL server injection attacks. What is SQL server injection attacks? See here, whenever we pass the queries from front end to back end, so while query traveling from front end application to back end application, in the middle some hackers will hack the queries. They might be inject something to the queries, so you will get unexpected results. So that's what we expect. We have written query for one purpose, but when we execute that command, you will get some different result. So that's what there may be chance to get SQL Server injection attacks whenever we pass direct command. So these are the drawbacks of direct queries. Unnecessary compilations will take place on server. Server burden is more. Queries will not provide security and reusability. There may be chance to get SQL Server injection attacks. Okay. So these are the drawback queries. To avoid these drawbacks, to avoid, to avoid, to avoid these drawbacks, to avoid these drawbacks, to avoid these drawbacks, we use stored procedures. We use stored SP means stored procedure. So what is stored procedure? I said stored procedure is a database object which contain pre-compiled queries. That means in stored procedure, query is already successfully compiled. Directly it will available for direct execution. So unnecessary compilations will not take place on server. So server burden is less here. Uh, so these are the drawbacks of direct queries, and advantage of stored procedures is this one. Advantage of stored procedure. Advantages of stored procedure means unnecessary compilations will not take place on server because it's already compiled in stored. Unnecessary compilations will not take place on server. Server burden is less. Server burden is less. And stored procedures will provide security. Why security it will provide? Stored procedures can be created at the database side, not front end side. If you want to pass direct commands, you should pass directly in front end side. But stored procedures means back end side only. Always we are going to create stored procedure in database side. Stored procedure will provide security and reusability. Reusability means once we create stored procedure, one of the application purpose, that stored procedure directly, whenever it is required, you can reuse them by calling the name of the stored procedure. So stored procedure will provide security and reusability, and stored procedures will avoid SQL Server injection attacks. SQL Server stored procedures will avoid SQL Server injection attacks. Injection attacks. Why it will avoid SQL Server injection attacks? Because stored procedure is a database object. Inside the stored procedure only we write queries. Always queries are available at backend. That is database side only. So that's what database side means. If you want to see the commands, if you want to edit the commands in database side, compulsory we have to edit that. Edit that. Compulsory have to edit that. But if you want to edit that, what we have to do? We have to take permission from database. We can't directly enter into database. So we'll avoid SQL Server injection attacks. Security is there, reusability is there, burden is very less on server, unnecessary compilations will not take place. Every time it will not compile directly, it's available compilation queries only, directly you can call execution purpose. This is an advantage of stored procedure. So most of the cases in real time, stored procedure concepts only will use. No one will pass direct commands from front end to back end. Okay, so that's the reason we are using stored procedure. But in SQL Server, there are types of stored procedures are there. What are the different types of stored procedure? So actually, three types of stored procedures are there. One is system defined stored procedures. System defined stored procedures. Next one is temporary stored procedures. Temporary stored procedures. Temporary stored procedure. Next one is user defined stored procedures. User defined stored procedure. User defined stored procedure. System defined stored procedure means these are already available. So these are system defined stored procedure. These procedure, these stored procedures are predefined, 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 predefined. Then example is system defined stored procedures are sp underscore help. It is used for to get help of the table. Sp underscore help index, which is used to get index details. Sp underscore help constraint, which is used for constraint details only. Sp underscore rename, which is used for renaming the table. Sp underscore help text to get view text. Sp underscore depends I'm not discussed so far, so I will discuss now today. Depends how it is. So these are all system defined stored procedures. Okay, system defined stored procedure, these are predefined stored procedures. All system defined system defined stored procedures are prefixed with prefixed with prefixed with prefixed with sp underscore. All system defined stored procedures are prefixed with sp underscore. Okay, now coming to the temporary stored procedures. Temporary stored procedures means these are the temporary purpose. These are the temporary purpose. These are these are these are temporary basis. These are temporary purpose. These are temporary purpose. Temporary purpose. These are temporary purpose. All these procedures, all these stored procedures are prefixed with We fixed with all these temporary stored procedures. We fixed with what's a as symbol. As symbol. This cannot be used much more actually. These are temporary stored procedure. Now coming to the user-defined stored procedures. These are I'm going to discuss completely user-defined stored procedures. Sorry. User-defined stored procedure. These are created by programmer. These are created by programmer, uh, which is which is used which is used in the applications, which is used in application according to according to according to requirement according to requirement. So user-defined storage procedure. These are created by programmer, which is used in the application according to requirement. According to requirement. Okay. So Microsoft, especially Microsoft, because SQL Server is the product of Microsoft. Microsoft is not recommend. Microsoft is not recommend to use sp underscore for user defined stored procedures because because there will be conflict there will be conflict between there will be conflict between user defined user defined and system defined stored procedures. User defined and system defined stored procedures, because there will be conflict between user defined and system defined stored procedures. So that's the reason Microsoft is not recommend to use sp underscore prefix for user defined stored procedures. Only we should use any name, meaningful name. Okay. So let me give the syntax of stored procedure. Syntax here: create a procedure name, create a procedure name as begin statements to be executed. That means we can use any statements, then end. Create procedure name as begin, statements to be execute, end. This is about the uh, stored procedure example. Let me create one stored procedure, how it is, where it will be saved stored procedure, everything will see practical implementation. Now this is stored procedure creation I'm doing here. Now we are in this master database, but our database is this one. So create stored procedure. Stored procedure name is, for example, PRC1 as begin, statements to be executed. What statements you want to write, you can write. Stored procedure. In this, I want to delete from emp details where id equals to 1. See, I want to delete record using this stored procedure. But what stored procedure here? This is PRC1. Let's execute. Procedure is ready. Sir, where it is procedure actually? Procedure where it is. So you want to see the procedure details. You can go to databases, expand, and you can expand this your database. And after that, you can see this programmability option will be there. Programmability folder. You can expand it. And here stored procedures folder is there. You can expand it. Now here you can see PRC1 is available. PRC1. Okay. So PRC1 is a stored procedure. So here you can see this procedure is for id equal to 1 deletion from which table? Emp details. Right now select star from emp details. What records are there in emp details? So one record is there, but how it will be deleted? Sir, you created stored procedure, but stored procedure is created, but did you call that procedure? No. So I want to call this procedure. How to execute this procedure? So this is the syntax. To execute procedure, to execute procedure, to execute procedure, we use exec, 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 procedure name, or exec, execute PRC1. Anyone it's possible. So we can use these two ways. One is exec PRC1 procedure name or execute procedure name. Both the ways it will work out now. So let me go and execute this exec procedure one. So one row is affected. One row is affected means how? So you can see this record is not available in EMP details because procedure is executed successfully according to the procedure. What I have written inside the procedure, delete from emp details where id equals to 1. 1 is gone. But in this above example, so here you can see in the above example, in the above procedure, user if user wants to delete, user wants to delete more records, more records like id equals to 2 or id equals to 3, id equals 3. every time every time every time we need to we need to modify modify the stored procedure, but it is not it is not it is not good practice in reality. It is not good practice in reality. Good practice in reality. Yes, sir. So every time if you want to I want to delete one more record like id number 2. So I should change here id number 2, again execute procedure and execute procedure. id number 3 I want to delete, again you have to change id number 3, but that's not good actually. So to avoid this, 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 we use stored procedure with parameter. Okay, so stored procedure with parameter, how it is: create a procedure, procedure name prc2, prc2 at the rate of id int. Here it is what parameter, at the rate of id. So at the rate of id symbol wherever you observe in SQL Server, that is actually parameter. So based on that parameter, I'm going to delete. Generally, if you want to delete the records, so we can use what ID. So ID is integer type. At rate ID is a parameter. So then after that, as begin. What statements? Delete statements. I want to delete from emp details. Delete from emp details where ID equals to no 2, no 3, no 4. So at rate of ID equal to at rate of ID. Then end. So we are not applying any 1, 2, 3, 4. So already we applied in the above examples one record, so one was deleted. Again, if you want to delete one more record, then again you have to mention 2 record, 3 record like this. That's not good actually. So that's what to avoid this, we use what? Stored procedure with parameter. Now, whenever we are trying to execute this stored procedure, how you can see exec stored procedure, what's our PRC2, stored procedure PRC2. But now this will give error, you can see this. Why this will give error? Because while executing the stored procedure or function PRC2 expects parameter which was not supplied. Okay, this is the error actually. Whenever we do like this, so error is available. Error is what error also I'm mentioning clearly. Then now you can see exact PRC2. Which record you want to delete, that you have to mention. So ID number 2 I want to delete. So ID number 2. So ID number 2, if you want to delete, you can execute this. Now it's clearly available ID number 2 deleted. Now you can see select star from EMP details. So ID number 2 is gone or not. So in this case, what is the advantage? In place of ID number, you can give any number, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, direct it will be deleted. So this is about the advantage of stored procedure with parameter. So here stored procedure I created with parameter. Okay. Now I want to create a stored procedure. So create stored procedure, to get EMP records, to get EMP records, where gender is male, where gender is male. So I can create a stored procedure, create procedure, procedure name is PRC3, PRC3, PRC3 at the rate of gender equals to variable character of 50, variable character of 50. Okay, then as begin statements, I want to get select star from EMP details, no, TBL employee, where, where gender equals to at the rate of gender, then end like this. So whenever I'm going to execute this procedure PRC3, now this time we can see exec PRC3, gender I have to pass, male or female. So easily if you want to get male employees, you can get male employees. Or else if you want to pass female employees, now you can see exec PRC3. Now here I am giving female. So female employees, if I want to pass, then we can pass the female employee records. Now you can see I'm going to pass female. Female also can or not. Yes, this is the way to work with the stored procedure with single parameter. Understand? Stored procedure with single parameter. Suppose multiple parameters, how? Multiple parameters. Suppose here select star from EMP details are there. EMP details. Select star from EMP details are there. So I want to insert create procedure, create stored procedure for insert. Create stored procedure for insert. I want to insert one record into this stored table. How I can create procedure procedure name is prc insert. I want to make clear insert head rate of id integer because next head rate of name variable character because all column names we have to mention its data types. Head rate of address variable character 50. Now head rate of designation char of 50. Next head rate of age integer. Next head rate of salary integer. These as begin as begin. Now statements. What statements? Insert into emp details values of head rate of id, head rate of name, head rate of address, head rate of designation, head rate of age, head rate of salary, like this. Then end. So this is the way to create procedure for inserting the records. Through procedure, I am trying to insert. So PRC insert is our procedure name. Now I am trying to execute the procedure, but exec PRC insert. It's a procedure name. We have to pass all parameters compulsory. ID number 1, name is Mohan. Name is Mohan. Next, immediately address is HYD. Address is HYD. We have to provide comma compulsory. Address is HYD. Address is HYD. Then after address designation trainer. Next age 35. Salary suppose like this. So wanted I'm not going to provide salary details, for example. I'm reducing the column size. You will get error. Compulsory will get error because at the time of creating stored procedure, how many parameters you supplied, that many you should pass. Now you can see procedure or function PRC insert expect parameters at the rate of salary, which was not supplied. Salary was not supplied. So that's what I'm giving salary, for example. Let's run this, it will execute successfully. So through procedure, I inserted the records. So this is procedure for insert. So let's check out in the EMP details, automatically it will be inserted one record. Okay. So same procedure, I can create procedure for update also with multiple parameters. So I'm going to create stored procedure for update. Create a stored procedure for update. So let's create stored procedure for update. Here I'm creating stored procedure for update. Updation how we can create SP for update. So PRC update I'm taking the procedure name. Now updation purpose also all parameters are required. Only the thing is command can be changed. Updation purpose command can be changed. Now here update command I'm going to use. Update. What? Stored procedure. Update. Insert into update EMP details. Update EMP details. Update EMP details. Set name equals to head rate of name, comma. Address equals to head rate of address. Next, designation equals to head rate of designation, comma. Age equals to head rate of age. Salary equals to head rate of salary. Where I want to update, where ID equals to head rate of ID. Yes, based on ID I want to update. So let's update the records. Update the records. Now create stored procedure. I'm creating stored procedure for update. Procedure is ready. It's a pre-compiled commands. Once pre-compiled commands are there, now I want to update the records. What record you want to update, you can see. Same one record only I want to update. For example, you can see execute or exec. Anything it will work. So execute or exec. Let me write execute. Execute stored procedure is what? PRC update. Update. What is ID number 1? Name I want to change something. Gender also I want to change. Female. Then what we can say, address I want to change. Next, what we can say, address designation I want to change. For example, next age I want to change. For example, salary I want to change like this. This is updation. So PRC update, updation I'm going to change. So where I want to change updation, there at the rate of one record. So one record I want to change, one record. Okay. So let's update. Let me check out if updation is possible or not. So I'm going to execute this procedure. Yes. Procedure or function has too many arguments specified. Why it's too many arguments? ID, name, gender. Gender, I think it's not there. Okay, let's check out the details. Ups to EMP details, we'll find out. Select start from EMP details. Yes, gender is not there, so that's what we are getting error. EMP details. Let's start this. So now we can say ID, name is there, gender is not there. Let's remove the gender, and address is there, designation is there, age is 35. It will work fine. Now we can say updation is there. Instead of previously one record was Mohan, now this time it's updated Amit Page and be teacher like this. So this is about procedure for updates. Procedure for update. Okay. So this is procedure update. Sir, if I want to execute stored procedure for if I want to execute stored procedure through design, how I can execute? We can execute through procedure through design. So go to stored procedure folder and once refresh, already all stored procedures are available. I want to execute this stored procedure, PRC insert and execute stored procedure. While executing this stored procedure, parameter values you have to supply. For example, ID number 2, I am going to supply. The next ID name is I'm going to give Durga. Next address is HY Hyderabad. Next designation trainer I'm giving. Now age I'm giving 38 and salary I don't want to give. So if you don't want to give salary, the option is here pass null value you have to activate. So pass null value if you activate, then salary will be null for this employee. What employee salary will be null? You can see whatever we inserted the record number 2, the salary will be indicated null. You can see this is null. So this is about stored procedure creation for multiple parameterized, single parameterized stored procedure. Okay. So here this stored procedure we can alter also. We can alter to modify the stored procedure. We can use alter. To modify the stored procedure, we use alter. We use alter. For example, I'm creating stored procedure. Create procedure. Procedure name PRC9. 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 Procedure name is PRC9. As begin. Select start from EMP details where where name like starts with S percentage. So end. So I'm going to execute. I'm creating stored procedure. This is the purpose actually PRC9. But whenever I execute stored procedure, you can see this. Whenever I execute stored procedure PRC9, so what's happened, sir? So whose name starts with S, but later I want to change this procedure to alter the procedure, I'm changing the procedure purpose completely. So to change completely procedure purpose, what we can do? Alter here. Alter means existing name only it will be saved. Alter stored procedure name not like means not like name starts with the it will be there. So now PRC9 whenever we exec PRC9, so the names will come which is not like S, remaining names will come. This is about stored procedure modification alter. Next to get all stored procedures from current database, all stored procedure from current database. Then how to get? Select start from sys objects where x type equals to text type equals to P for procedures. So you will get all procedures, you can see this, including system defined procedure. PRC1, PRC2, PRC3, PRC insert, PRC update like this. Okay, these are all stored procedures. Now, if you want to drop the stored procedure, one of the stored procedure you don't want to use. So drop stored procedure. How to drop? Drop procedure, procedure name PRC1. I want to drop procedure PRC1. Now you can drop it. So how it can be dropped, whether it is dropped or not, how I can know that? Again, you can check out. So in this PRC1 is gone, PRC1 is not there. And next, to get procedure text, if you want to get procedure text, then we can also get that. To get a procedure text, to get procedure text. So SP underscore help text procedure name PRC insert procedure text I want to get. Then completely procedure text we can get. Same like V1. So we got procedure text complete. What we have written in the procedure, then we can get procedure text. Okay. Next, this is about procedure. Now we can see we use SP underscore depends. SP underscore depends. What is depends? So it is used to get the dependencies dependencies of table. Table is depending on what? If you want to know that, we can get. So SP underscore depends table name emp details. Emp detail dependencies you want, you can get. So now you can see this SP underscore depends emp details I'm getting. So what emp details? What are the dependencies emp details? Two procedures are there, and the views are there, two views are there. Now if you want to know that dependencies of other table like sp underscore help text, what is that? Tbl employee. So I want to know dependencies on this table. Then now you can see tbl employee empl model. It's okay. Sp underscore help text not sp underscore help depends actually, sorry, what's I'm writing. Let's wait. To get procedure text, that is to get the dependencies. Okay, this is remove. If you want to know the dependencies of sp underscore depends of tpl employee, then you can get complete dependencies on this employee table. What are the dependencies are there? One procedure is there, few views are there completely. And same like tbl department dependencies. If you want tbl department dependencies, these are called stored procedure completely. So these are the views are available here. So this is about complete stored procedure discussion. So types of stored procedure, how to create stored procedure, all those things here. Okay, system defined stored procedure, uh, or sp underscore prefix symbol through it will be created. System defined stored procedures are. Understand? So this is about stored procedures. In next session, we'll discuss completely what we can say triggers concept. We'll discuss complete triggers concept. We'll discuss. In real time stored procedures only will be focused.